Hello everybody, 15 minutes of fame 1. I am sorry this came a day late, but unfortunately my internet has caused me more problems again. Fuck the internet. Well, I shouldn't even say that, I'm on the internet. But anyway, you've waited for this. It's my take on one subject for the whole entire video, and I'm looking forward to this. Because I've heard in recent months that the WWE are going to scrap the brands, which doesn't sound like a good idea. I mean, I've already got tickets for both Raw and SmackDown in April in the O2 Arena, so that at least gives me one thing to be excited about. But hearing that WWE are going to scrap the brands that have been around since, well, the brand extension of 2002. The great thing about the brand extension at the time was it because WWE's roster was so big, so overblown from the influx of WCW and ECW guys that they just couldn't find any room to put them all on TV. So that's the reason why they were split. That you had one lot on SmackDown, one lot on Raw. Simple, easy, and that's the best thing to do about it. It's just the fact that at the time it really did work because there were some people who didn't get any time on television at all and were just restricted to being on Sunday Night Heat, Jacked, or other shows around at the time that could actually accommodate them. Then well, I don't know. It's over time the other brands have come along. ECW has done its time, even though it catastrophically failed. NXT is now coming along as a brand of its own for young superstars. Even, I don't even think Tough Enough is a brand, but at least it's given us new people. And they've come and gone. But Raw and SmackDown, of course, WWE's signature shows are still with us today. And I'm thinking to myself, good to split them at the time though, because there were so many wrestlers obviously that you had to split it up a bit, and yeah, it worked back then due to so many people. I mean, if I had that many people on any workforce, I would split them into two teams, see how they go, and whichever one did better, I'd probably invest in. But obviously, SmackDown got a lot more ratings on a Thursday night. I'll put that forward. Thursday night they got a lot more ratings than they did on a Friday because no one watches wrestling on a Friday. If I quote Mark P right, so it works in that way. But I'm wondering to myself whilst thinking it in this video, why are they still here? They're still here for that very same purpose. Their very same purpose of having one lot on SmackDown, one lot on Raw, keeping everybody getting their time. But now, of course, they have FCW, they've got superstars. But I always will say that the same thing happens every week. You get the same people. You don't get much of an influx of new talent nowadays, and I find that extremely annoying. Because if you think about it, WWE are trying to do this stupid new talent initiative, right? Vince doesn't seem to realise that if you keep the same wrestlers on a show every week, you're bound to have repetitive matches, repetitive storylines, and that's where a lot of your business is flushing down the toilet. So if you think about it, I'd put some new people onto some shows. I know you've done that with Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and all that, but you keep putting the same people in the main event picture, and that is annoying because we want to see something different. If you've got a brand of assorted talent from the uppers all the way down to the lower people like Zack Ryder and Yoshitatsu or people like that, why don't you use them? Because the thing is, you've got to understand, you've got 2 hours worth of TV time here. There is no use doing what you've done leading up to Armageddon or TLC or whatever it is by basically dedicating the entire time to John Cena and the Nexus when there was a title match between The Miz and Randy Orton that needed to get promoted. It didn't get much time. Every other match didn't get much time at all. In fact, you're dedicating so much time to the bigger guys that you're effectively having to basically announce one match on the night itself, which doesn't sell many pay-per-view numbers, I will tell you that. So when you think about it, yeah, put more people on the show. It'll make it better. But I don't know. It's just the one thing I get annoyed about is that these brands are there to give people time and they don't even do that. So when Superstars comes along, they give them time. But then you've only got 1 hour to fill. So it just doesn't work. I have never understood for a million years why WWE believes these brands are doing the job because one of them is only watched. One of them is watched on a frequent basis. That's Monday Night Raw. I will personally admit I only watch Raw. I watch Raw. I don't watch SmackDown often. Mostly because there's nothing to really drag me to their product. Sure, they have Edge, They have Kane, they have Alberto Del Rio, they have Jack Swagger. That's fantastic. The only problem, they haven't got much else. And I have to say, when it comes to things like, oh, Rey Mysterio. Oh, God, I hate Rey Mysterio. And just the fact that, and yeah, Vicky Guerrero, Dolph Ziggler doesn't really excite me much when it comes to a wrestler. Kofi Kingston isn't being used much. And basically, SmackDown doesn't offer much to me. And I will say this, WWE. Put enough effort into both of your programs, you'll get something good out of it. You'll get something fantastic out of it. Because I think if you dedicated enough time and put SmackDown on USA Network. Make USA Network the home of WWE television, because you're going to cross promote, saying, "Oh, next week on this upcoming week on SmackDown, live on USA." I'll be able to say, "Oh, it's on the same fucking channel." I'll be able to watch it and get good viewing figures. You don't have to stick them on a different channel just because they're different programs. You can save a lot of money, I'll tell you that now. But SmackDown just has not got enough going for it, and I hear that they want to promote SmackDown as the new A show. Just because they won bragging rights does not effectively make them the A show. If they were going to make them the A show, they would have traded someone big like John Cena or Randy Orton over to that show by now, and I know they won't do that. Sure, taking the Nexus over there, yeah, it works on some levels, it works not on others. But one thing I will say is, coming up to the Rumble, maybe you can shake things up a bit. People are going to go on different brands, make a big impact. And that is a slight problem for me, because that is where the brand idea is becoming stale, if you get me. Because the brand extension, when it was first started, had this contract exclusivity thing, and you had a war between Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon fighting over the contracts of wrestlers. That was brilliant. Had the anticipation of where Triple H would go at Vengeance 2002. You didn't know where the hell he was going to go. Would he choose Raw or SmackDown? And then there was a huge influx of talent changing from Raw to SmackDown after the draft. After the draft happened, and that was unpredictable. You were binded onto that show. They couldn't move anywhere unless a draft moved them. Now, you just randomly see a SmackDown guy cross-promoting on Raw just for some unknown reason, and it is so fucking annoying, because if they're meant to be on one show, why the hell aren't they there? It just doesn't make sense to me. It's like when Alberto Del Rio just came out on Raw 2 weeks ago. I thought, what the fuck? Why is Alberto Del Rio coming out on Raw when he's a SmackDown guy? He even says SmackDown Alberto Del Rio for his name thing. That doesn't make any sense to me. But I think it got at its apex in the late part of 2006, when King Booker, Batista, Finlay, Cena all got mantled together. I mean, come on, I know after a couple of months you went on to doing the tri-branded pay-per-views. That I can understand perfectly well. But when you put the Raw champion and the SmackDown champion on the same show, SmackDown or Raw, then that doesn't make any sense. They're meant to be the champions of their brand, okay? Why are you technically saying, oh, these guys are contractually obliged to appear on this one show, yet we want them to appear on basically both? So why? I've always hated it that you always miss that. You don't get, if you see a guy from Raw attacking a guy on SmackDown back in 2002, 2003, 2004, even 2005, it would send ships going, oh my god, what the hell is this? And it was fun to anticipate, could someone from the other show appear? Hell, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006's General Manager mode even had something specific for that. And that's my thing. I just don't understand why the brands are there at the minute, because no one is stuck on the same brand anymore. They're gradually just going. The Miz and the Miz and John Cena, all these people went on SmackDown to promote the 500th episode of SmackDown or something like that, and there was just mostly Raw guys promoting a SmackDown, and that it happened on the Raw 900th episode as well. Nexus and people like Undertaker appearing and representing SmackDown on that show. And I just remember on the Raw Homecoming episode in 2005, when when the bragging rights SmackDown vs Raw Survivor Series pay per view main event was starting to build, and they basically Eric Bischoff shut the lights off, saying this is a Raw show. I'm not letting SmackDown talent be on it. That is what they should do. They shouldn't allow SmackDown guys onto Raw. They shouldn't allow Raw guys onto SmackDown. That is how it should be. Okay, if there are brands, you have to stick them to being separate. And it's not like two different football teams in the same area. Sheffield United players don't suddenly transfer to Sheffield Wednesday. That would cause an uproar. It wouldn't happen between Norwich and Ipswich. It wouldn't happen between Man U and Man City, even though it has happened to Carlos Tevez. I know I'm just straying off into football, but you get my example. If there are two similar things in the same place, they are not supposed to intertwine in any form, because that is just wrong. And I'm telling you, why WWE just keeps insisting on saying, look, these are our shows, let's promote them. This is the reason why I believe the brands are losing their purpose. And that's why when hearing these rumours that they're going to combine Raw and SmackDown together, actually makes sense, because there is no such thing as brand exclusivity anymore. It is all about just getting everyone everywhere. But then, if you put that into perspective, what's going to happen once the thing happens? Who is going to wind up on Superstars? You may have to make Superstars 2 hours long. Or, if I'm even more ridiculous, make FCW a primetime show. It's just, if you make it one brand, no newcomers are going to come through unless they make a sudden epic debut, or you make gigantic roster cuts. Now, obviously, I'd be able to help and pick out all the shit that you actually do have in your clogged up filter of wrestlers, WWE. I'd love to pick out the ones who I don't think should belong in there. Yoshitatsu, Zack Ryder, Trent Beretta, Kurt Hawkins, I'd even say Great Khali, seeing as he has no use anymore. I could go on, but you see my point. If you have to make some decision, okay? Because if you're willing to ditch the brands and have one SmackDown, one Raw, one SmackDown a week, that basically states right out, this is exactly a continuation from what we saw last Monday, then that's fine. But it's just not going to be an easy thing to pull off. And this is where I'm a little conflicted with this, because the brands have been there for nearly 10 years as separate entities, as separate shows, as separate rosters. And I've got to think, excuse me, these things take a lot out of me. Right, and I just think that the one thing you got to realise is, Vince, and WWE in general, if you're going to do that, if you're going to keep the brands relevant, at least make it seem like you care that the brands are separate, that are different, and you actually are paying attention. Give more time to SmackDown. Give more attention to SmackDown. Feels like you're leaving it in the background and not really giving a shit just because you're wanting to promote Raw all the time. Make the draft lottery something better than making, oh, you win a match, therefore you win a wrestler, where one brand obviously comes out more superior than the other. That doesn't make any sense. Two brands, equal draftings, really. Do we did in 2005? Do we did then? And have the draft picks just come out randomly? That'd be a lot funner. And I'm telling you, it would be a lot more tense, thinking, who's going to come onto SmackDown and stay here? It's going to increase ratings. See, I know more about this than you do, Vince. And I know a lot more about it than some guys in the WWE, right in the back. Yeah. All those stupid sitcom writers who are writing SmackDown into oblivion with Michael P.S. Hayes at the helm. Basically what I'm saying is, WWE, get the brand situation sorted, make it seem like you give a shit, and make a decision. Because the sooner you make the decision, the sooner that this video will become obsolete, and you wouldn't even have to worry about people complaining about it. Because I've seen some people complain, and they're not happy that the brands could be split up, and everyone has to go into their own roster. I think, summing up, basically, brands, you've had your 15 minutes of fame. In my opinion, you can either stay or you can go. It can either be one show or there can be two. Make your decision, and I will take anything you got and run with it. That make any sense to you? Cool. Right, that is the first 15 minutes of fame up, guys. I'm once again apologising for how late this video was. I will see you next week, where this will be my last wrestling rant before the Royal Rumble. See you guys. Have a good week.